Using the word crooked for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is the most crooked president in the history of our country by a factor of hundreds. He's a crook.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was former President Trump in Las Vegas Saturday, once again accusing a political rival of being crooked and corrupt. Meanwhile, his defense team has requested a federal judge postpone his trial on charges of illegally retaining classified documents after leaving office until potentially after the 2024 election. So for more on this, our big political team here, Bob Costa and Finn Gómez, join me now. Bob, of course, is CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent, and Finn is CBS News political director. Welcome to you both. Thanks so much for being here. Bob, I want to start with you and this latest from Donald Trump asking to delay this until after the 2024 election. What is the legal case that the Trump team is making for this plea?
It comes down to the fact that he's a federal candidate, and he doesn't believe as a federal candidate he should be mired by litigation during this political period in his life. And we'll see if Judge Eileen Cannon hears out this case and actually kicks the entire trial until after the election. To me, this is one of the big political questions hanging over the 2024 presidential race, because Trump's already facing a trial in New York over hush money payments. He has an indictment and a trial looming on how he handled classified documents. Now, with Georgia on the horizon and a possible trial there, what's going to happen with the classified documents case? And that's a TBD. If he has a trial on classified documents, that could bleed into the primary period early next year. But if it goes after the election, Trump will be able to potentially win the White House and try to kick it off the agenda.
And you also have the January 6th investigation looming as well. And all of this is going on. You have all of these candidates going to Iowa over the next couple of days. And that's really interesting to me because Donald Trump has kind of started this back and forth with the very popular governor there, Kim Reynolds, Finn, which is interesting because Reynolds is not endorsing a candidate, at least not yet. Tell us a little bit about why Trump is a little bit angry at her not endorsing. I mean, she's been having a lot of candidates come through Iowa, Ron DeSantis especially.
I think seemingly it's because it does seem that there is somewhat of a close relationship that she has with his rival Ron DeSantis, and I think the fact that Trump has been very big on these like loyalty tests, like you have to prove my loyalty, and if you don't support me now, that means there's a sense of betrayal. And I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, but he is risking risking angering a very important electorate there, I believe, and that is the evangelical base that is there. There's strong caucus goers that come out, as you know, Bob. There's a big cattle call that's happening this Friday in Iowa. He's not attending. It's being led by the Iowa family leader, which is led by Bob Vanderplant, who is a big influential evangelical leader. And by doing this, potentially annoying these folks, there could be some political risk there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious about that. And I know you've done a lot of reporting in Iowa over the years. I mean, Iowa hasn't selected the Republican nominee, I think, since 2000, but still it helps to winnow the field. I mean, what kind of risks is Trump taking here? Or can he kind of glide through without Iowa?
You know, you've reported on Iowa a lot when you've been to the living room of Bob Vanderplant. So, look.
Take us inside that living room.
Well, it's a normal house near Des Moines. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to dox him, as they say. But no, he's an influential guy. But your question is, to what end? How influential is he really? In 2008, Finn covered it. Mike Huckabee does well in Iowa, wins Iowa, but not the nominee. McCain's the nominee. McCain comes back in New Hampshire. And you look in 2016, Trump didn't win Iowa in 2016. I was there with Ted Cruz on caucus night. Cruz wins Iowa. Trump comes back, wins New Hampshire and South Carolina. I was at the U.S. Senate earlier today, talked to Senator Lindsey Graham. And Graham said that South Carolina is the protector. I predict, potentially, not to get into prediction business, but South Carolina played such a crucial role for Biden in 2020. Biden collapsed in Iowa, stumbled in New Hampshire, but then Clyburn's endorsement, the win in South Carolina, catapulted Biden ahead to the nomination. I think for Trump, South Carolina is going to play a similarly crucial role. Regardless of what happens in Iowa, it's a crowded field, a lot of appeals to religious conservatives. New Hampshire, Chris Christie could pick up some traction there. South Carolina, it gets real. and that's where the Trump support stayed.
And that's super interesting, too, because you have two candidates from South Carolina,
right.
potentially. We'll see if they even make it that far. What's also interesting is, this vying for supporters of Donald Trump and trying to get them to not support him anymore. And Club for Growth, as you all know, has been kind of actively getting involved in trying to make the case for an alternative to Donald Trump. And a PAC that they're supporting is running an ad that I found really interesting. I want to play it and talk about it on the other side.
He's got so many distractions, and I'm not sure he can focus on moving the country forward. We're going in the wrong direction. I mean, we definitely need somebody that can freaking win. I think you'd probably lose that bet if you voted for Trump.
So this idea of electability, but also what was interesting to me is that this is speaking to Trump supporters in another way, kind of saying that all of these attacks, all of these investigations are going to be a distraction, so let's find someone else. I'm curious if you think that has the potential to resonate. I mean, Donald Trump is leading in all of the polls in the early states.
And he's leading by a wide margin, right? But to Bob's earlier point, though, I think some of these Republican rivals to Trump believe that there is the possibility that it's not sustainable. The strength that he has right now in the polls is not sustainable with these investigations and other looming potential hurdles that he has legally, that it's enough to talk to that same voter, that the Club for Growth, who are backed by the Koch brothers, who have made no qualms about their dislike for Donald Trump, but nonetheless believe that there is an argument to be made to your MAGA voter saying, I know you like Trump, you can still like Trump, but it's time to move on to someone else.
But I would love to hear both of your perspectives on this. Okay, so the Club for Growth has all these ads. They're making a case against Trump. But let's say Trump doesn't show up at the first debate in August in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So how is anyone going to get any traction against him if he's not on stage? It's not going to come through ads. I just don't see it.
And that's the big question mark, is if Donald Trump shows up and what the incentive is for him. And I actually, to the point about the debate, it's really interesting to see all of these other candidates trying to jockey to get on that debate stage. I mean, Doug Burgum has kind of a controversial plan that he's giving out gift cards to for $1 because you have to have a certain number of donors.
Sounds like me at Christmas with my siblings.
Exactly.
Another gift card to a coffee shop. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if that gets you on the debate stage, but
let's say Trump doesn't show up. Is DeSantis the target for everybody else, not Trump?
If you look at his financial strength, yeah, potentially. But still, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential for others to maybe move around that. But right now, it's still Trump's ball game, as we all know. You look at those poll numbers. You look at his fundraising numbers. The only thing that could really impact that are those looming investigations, are those looming trials. Is Fulton County? Is Jack Smith? That could be a real collision into his trajectory potentially. That's what some of his rivals.
But voters don't seem to care on the Republican side.
Yeah, no, that's valid. And sorry.
And we'll see whether, the more that these investigations develop, the more they came, whether that strengthens his hand or whether these other candidates take it to Trump directly, because they haven't really,
Chris Christie has.
Chris Christie has, and that's kind of his lane. But some of these others haven't gone there yet.
Will he make the debate stage?
That's the big question. Well, this is why we have to have you both back all the time to monitor all of this over the next several months. Good to see you both. Thank you, Bob and Finn.